Hey everybody, day 5 in the 12 days of whiskey, and let's see what we've got today. That was good energy, wasn't it? Oh, yikes. All right, Blanton straight from the barrel from Derek S. It's going to be a good one. I just know it. All right, guys, you know the deal by now. I usually jump in and tell you a little bit about how I know the person that sent the sample. So Derek S. Derek is absolutely the person you see when I talk about Manatee Whiskey Society. He's one of the founders and also runs the podcast Whiskey Straight Up. So I've got to know Derek in particular mostly over this past year through whiskey, and honestly have just been able to collab on his show. You might have seen the live stream where he was on this show. So I was on his show, he was on this show. That kind of rhymed. That was pretty cool, actually. Honestly, you know, there's a lot of things we're both, in terms of the creative content, we are both trying to start, you know, getting our footholds here. So we talk a lot about that. And that's something that I cherish and take dear here. But again, we have to come back to the whiskey at some point. So let's go ahead and pour this up and then tell you a little bit about it. So this is Blanton straight from the barrel, and you're saying, Nate, what might be the difference in that if you're watching and maybe not familiar? So Blanton's typically, though it's a single barrel product, is usually diluted down to 90 proof to get it to where they feel like that's the most commercially viable at the time when the product launched. But in this case, this is a barrel where they said, nope, we're just gonna take this as a single barrel. We're not gonna dilute it down. So you're getting that barrel strength Blanton's experience. So to give you the particulars on this actual Blanton straight from the barrel, this was from Warehouse H, Rick 14, dump date of 10/19/2020. So a couple years since it's been dumped. It's coming at 126.9 proof and obviously Buffalo Trace product. So, you know, we got to start off by making sure we give this guy a little swirl here, make sure we open it up. But again, we know the bottle was already open. We know this was already poured. So less critical, but still important. And let's get to it. Get just that little bit of slight wood oakiness funk that I think gets muted in regular Blantons. And it's kind of one of my hang-ups with regular Blantons. I know a lot of people out there chasing. If you haven't had it, I don't mean to ruin it for you. I think the original Blantons is excellent. You should definitely chase it down and try it if you haven't and you really want to. But what you get here is a little more of that oak experience and expresses itself a little more on the nose first time. Pulling some interesting notes. There's some caramel apple maybe in there, actually. I don't quite get that as pronounced again in regular Blantons. So this isn't meant to be a straight from the barrel versus regular Blantons, but I think that's probably where a lot of people's reference points are going to be. So obviously I kind of want to cater to that a little bit. And last sip, I'm pulling what might be a little bit of leather out of that as well. It's not full on tobacco, so I'm going to go with leather on that. All right, let's get into the tasting, see what we've got here. Man, that's a flavor explosion. Like, that's a lot going on as compared to regular. I mean, again, I not comparison video for regular Blantons, but this is just oily and heavy, which you would expect. Again, they dilute their other Blantons. So this has a presence of a sweetness on the front of the tongue. This finishes with just a little bit of spice kick, comes down to a hug a little here. The mouthfeel on it is, I'd say, leaning towards heavy, but not quite full on heavy, completely oily. It's oily, but not like oily AF, if you will. And AF doesn't mean autofocus, just in case you're wondering. There's a couple different things that are hitting me here, which is really, really odd. And I'm probably going to be off by most people's tasting notes here because it's just striking me as something that I didn't expect. I'm getting some components of like apple crumble, apple pie. I'm also getting components of all of those baking spices coming in over top that. Also with some creaminess that I can say is sort of creme brulee like. That is secondary. And I don't mean to say this is all apple. That's not the point. But that's where my mind goes first. Let's give it a last sip and we'll kind of give you an idea of anything else I can round out here before we close the video out. It's a strange thing. So I still feel like there's caramel, maybe less apple. And maybe what I'm getting is some combination of other flavors. I get like a little maple-ish quality to this as well. So caramel and maple. There's something there. I can't quite put my finger on it. Point being for me is it's still a fantastic pour. Again, I'm where I'm at in my journey in terms of tasting and smell. And I'm just, you know, in that early stages of like starting to understand my palate. And I won't pretend to think that my palate is your palate. But my point being here is that this is a fantastic pour. And again, I know these are single barrels, so your mileage may vary slightly on what you get. I just got like a little peppery note in the back too on top of that rye spice. And it's just the long finish. It's a long finish. So I'm rambling, and you can tell when I'm rambling that I'm very excited about something. I'm going to tell you, have a pour of it, make a memory. Doesn't really matter what that memory is. Could be just sitting enjoying a Friday night, chilling out. Could be at a wedding and celebrating with a friend. Could be anything. Have a pour, make a memory. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.